Welcome to our deep dive into the 10-day MBA.
Oh, this is gonna be fun.
It's like we're auditing an MBA program without the tuition fees and exams and all that.
Exactly. It's a crash course in business thinking, all neatly packaged.
It's packed with so many frameworks and practical tips, and
The toolkit, really?
I like that
A toolkit.
for deciphering the business world.
Perfect. All right, let's jump right in.
Let's do it.
The 10-day MBA dedicates a good chunk to marketing, which makes sense, right? Because if you can't market your product or service, it's like, oh,
Nobody will even know about it. It's
exactly.
like a tree falling in the forest.
So the book lays out this really practical 7-step marketing process,
Yeah.
and it all starts with understanding your customer.
Right, not just making assumptions about who they are, but really diving deep into their needs, their desires, their buying habits.
The book gives a great example with a gourmet coffee company trying to break into the U.S. market.
They can't just assume everyone who drinks coffee is their target.
Because, I mean, coffee drinkers are so diverse, right? You've got your casual coffee drinkers.
Your connoisseurs, the folks who just need their caffeine fix.
Yes, exactly. So this company has to figure out which specific segment of coffee lovers will really resonate with their gourmet offerings.
So that's step one, know your customer like the back of your hand.
And then step 2 is all about understanding where your product stands in its life cycle.
Are we talking like the hot new thing or something that's been around forever?
Exactly, because a brand new product needs a completely different strategy than one that's reached maturity or even decline.
So you're saying the marketing playbook changes depending on where your product is in its life cycle.
Absolutely. The book breaks down those 4 stages: introduction, growth, maturity, and decline. Each stage has its own set of challenges and opportunities.
And then there's the competitive landscape. You can't just ignore the other players in the game.
Right. You got to know who you're up against, what their strengths and weaknesses are,
The 10-day MBA uses this concept of barriers to entry.
which are basically obstacles that make it difficult for new companies to enter a market.
Okay, so like what are some examples?
Well, think about the pharmaceutical industry. Developing new drugs requires massive investment and years of research, so that alone creates a huge barrier for new companies.
So the big players are kind of protected in a way?
In a sense, but even in less extreme cases, understanding the competitive landscape is crucial.
The book suggests using tools like perceptual maps to visualize how consumers perceive different brands.
Right, like imagine a map with strength on one axis and softness on the other, and you plot different paper towel brands on it.
So you can see how consumers perceive each brand relative to its competitors.
Exactly, and that can reveal opportunities for differentiation. Maybe there's a gap in the market for a paper towel that's both strong and soft.
Interesting. So once you've got a handle on your customer, your product's life cycle, and the competition, it's time to figure out how to get your product into the hands of those eager buyers.
That's where distribution channels come in.
So are we talking online stores, brick and mortar retailers?
Yeah. All of the above. The book dives into different channel structures, the importance of understanding channel power dynamics.
Power dynamics.
Yeah, like who has the upper hand in the relationship between the manufacturer and the retailer.
Okay, and then there's the whole battle for shelf space.
Right.
I've heard that grocery stores are super strategic about where products are placed.
Oh, absolutely. Shelf space is prime real estate companies pay big bucks to get their products at eye level or near the checkout counter.
It's all about catching the consumer's eye at the right moment.
Exactly. And once you've secured that coveted shelf space, then it's time to deploy the marketing mix.
Ah, yes, the 4Ps: product, price, place, promotion.
Precisely. It's all about crafting the right message, using the right tools to reach your target audience.
So we're talking advertising, public relations, personal selling, sales promotions.
And don't forget the digital realm with SEO, SEM, all those online tools that can make or break a product in today's market.
It's a lot to juggle, but it sounds like the 10-day MBA provides a really solid framework for approaching it all.
It does. And it even dives into this fascinating evolution of personal selling.
Oh, like from the door-to-door salesman with the slick hair and the big smile.
Exactly, to today's more consultative approach, where salespeople position themselves as problem solvers and trusted advisors.
I guess that makes sense. In today's world, consumers are savvier. They can see through those cheesy sales tactics.
They can spot a hard sell from a mile away. But here's a crucial point. The book stresses even the most brilliant marketing plan is worthless if it doesn't translate into profit.
Okay, so you're saying all this marketing magic needs to be grounded in financial reality.
Exactly. You can't just throw money at advertising and hope for the best.
You need to analyze your costs, your pricing your potential sales volume.
Right, because at the end of the day, your marketing efforts need to generate more revenue than they cost.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So now that we've got a taste of the marketing side of things, the 10-day MBA takes us on a deep dive into finance.
And it doesn't just bombard us with jargon,
It breaks down different business structures in a way that's easy to understand,
like sole proprietorships, partnerships, corporations,
and it lays out the pros and cons of each structure.
so you can make an informed decision about what's best for your business.
Now, I've always been a little intimidated by the whole concept of risk, but the book does a good job of explaining it.
Right. It distinguishes between systematic risk, which affects the entire market.
Like a tide that lifts or lowers all boats.
Precisely. And then there's unsystematic risk, which is specific to a particular company or industry.
So like if a company's CEO suddenly resigns, that would be unsystematic risk.
Exactly. And what's fascinating is how the book connects this to diversification.
Diversification meaning don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. By spreading your investments across different asset classes, you can potentially reduce the impact of those companies' specific risks.
So if one investment takes a hit, the others can help cushion the blow.
Precisely. And then there's this concept of beta, which I always found a little mysterious.
Same here. I always associate it with like beta testing software or something.
Well, in finance, beta measures a stock's volatility relative to the market.
So a high beta means a stock is more likely to swing wildly up and down.
Exactly like a roller coaster ride. And a low beta means it's more stable.
More like a leisurely stroll through the park.
Exactly. And knowing a stock's beta can help investors decide if it aligns with their risk tolerance.
So if you're risk averse, you might steer clear of those high beta stocks.
Precisely. Then the 10-day MBA tackles this fascinating concept called the efficient market hypothesis.
Okay, now this one always makes my head spin a little.
Well, it basically suggests that stock prices already reflect all available information, making it difficult to consistently outperform the market.
So you're saying there's no magic formula for picking winning stocks?
Not consistently anyway. Of course, there are always exceptions, but the efficient market hypothesis challenges the notion that you can constantly outsmart the market.
So it's more about making informed decisions based on sound research and understanding your own risk tolerance.
Exactly. And on that note, the book dives into how to actually determine what an investment is worth.
Okay, now we're talking.
It covers discounted cash flows, the dividend growth model, price-earnings ratios.
It's like a mini MBA in valuation right there in the book.
It is, and it demystifies complex financial instruments like options.
Options.
Yeah.
Those always sounded so complicated to me.
Well, they give you the right, but not the obligation to buy or sell an asset at a specific price.
Okay, so like you're betting on whether the price will go up or down?
In a way, the book explains calls and puts and even provides an example of how an options trader might profit by anticipating a stock's price movement.
So it's all about timing and prediction.
To some extent, but options trading can get pretty complex and risky.
Then we get to derivatives, which always sounded even more intimidating than options.
They can be complex, but essentially derivatives are financial instruments that derive their value from an underlying asset.
Like a stock or a bond
From
or...
a commodity like oil or gold,
Okay, so the book explains different types of derivatives like swaps,
which can be used for risk management or speculation,
speculation meaning.
trying to profit from price fluctuations.
Got it. And the book actually ties these derivatives into the 2008 financial crisis.
Right. It shows how the misuse of these complex instruments can have devastating consequences.
So understanding the risks is crucial.
Absolutely. And on that note, the book tackles capital budgeting, which is all about making those big decisions about long-term investments.
So like deciding whether to build a new factory or launch a new product line.
Exactly. And the book breaks down tools like payback periods, which measure how long it takes for an investment to generate enough cash to cover its initial costs.
So basically how long till you break even?
Right. And then there's net present value, or NPV, which factors in the time value of money.
The time value of money, meaning...
$1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow because it can be invested and earn a return.
Okay, so NPV helps you compare the value of investments that generate cash flows over different time periods.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then we get to capital structure, which is all about how a company balances debt and equity financing.
So debt meaning borrowing money and equity meaning selling ownership shares.
Precisely. And the 10-day MBA introduces this concept called FRICTO, which stands for Flexibility, Risk Income Control Timing, and Other.
Fricto birds.
That's a mouthful. But it's a helpful framework for evaluating different financing options.
Okay, so Fritco helps companies decide how much debt versus equity to use.
Exactly, taking into account all those factors like flexibility, risk income control, timing, and other considerations specific to their situation.
And finally, we delve into the exciting world of mergers and acquisitions.
Where companies combine or acquire other
It's
companies,
like corporate matchmaking.
in a way. And the 10-day MBA explains those strategic and financial motivations behind these big deals.
So are we talking about eliminating competition, gaining access to new markets or technologies?
All of the above. The book covers different types of mergers, horizontal, vertical, conglomerate.
And it outlines the key steps involved in the valuation and bidding process.
Right, because those deals involve a lot of financial maneuvering.
So we've covered a lot of ground here from marketing to finance. And what I appreciate about the 10-day MBA is that it doesn't just present the theory.
It provides real-world examples and actionable advice.
Exactly. It's like having a seasoned business advisor guiding you through those complexities of each topic.
Making it relevant and relatable.
All right, so we've just scratched the surface of marketing and finance.
But there's so much more to explore.
Stay tuned because we're just getting started with this deep dive into the 10-day MBA.
Ready to dive into the engine room of a business, where ideas get transformed into actual products and services.
Operations. It's where the rubber meets the road.
Exactly. And the 10-day MBA starts by breaking down different production systems.
So we're talking like the assembly lines and factories.
Well, not just those. There's also job shops, batch processes, continuous processes.
Each tailored to a specific type of production.
Precisely like a custom furniture maker might use a job shop where each piece is crafted individually.
While a bakery churning out loaves of bread would probably opt for a batch process.
Exactly, and understanding these different systems helps companies optimize their production flow.
Then there's the whole challenge of scheduling and inventory control. It's like a giant puzzle.
It is, and the book explains how techniques like the critical path method can help managers map out a project's timeline.
So you can identify those crucial tasks that need to stay on track.
Precisely, it's about avoiding bottlenecks and delays, ensuring that everything flows smoothly.
And then there's queuing theory, which always sounded a little intimidating to me.
Well, it's basically about optimizing service by managing waiting lines.
Oh, so like at a busy call center or a theme park?
Exactly. By applying queuing theory, you can potentially reduce wait times and improve customer satisfaction.
Makes sense. And the 10-day MBA also highlights the economic order quantity model,
Which helps companies figure out the optimal amount of inventory to order.
balancing those holding costs against the risk of running out.
Precisely, it's about finding that sweet spot.
So we're talking about minimizing waste and maximizing efficiency, which are like music to any business owner's ears.
Absolutely, but it's not just about systems and numbers. The book emphasizes the human element in setting standards and controlling quality.
Right, because ultimately it's people who are doing the work.
Exactly, and variance analysis is a great tool for spotting deviations from planned costs.
So it's like a financial early warning system.
In a sense, it helps you catch those small problems before they snowball into bigger ones,
And then, of course, there's the whole concept of quality management.
which has evolved significantly over the years.
From just inspecting finished products to a more holistic approach.
Precisely, the 10-day MBA explores different quality management philosophies,
Like total quality management or TQM.
which champions continuous improvement and involves every employee in the pursuit of excellence.
So it's not just a quality control department, it's everyone's responsibility.
Exactly. And then there's Six Sigma, which takes a data-driven approach to reducing defects
Striving for near perfection.
in a statistically significant way. And to achieve that level of quality in today's world, automation is often key.
Ah, yes, robots. Those tireless workers that never complain.
Well, robots are just one aspect of automation. The book also explores how MRP systems can streamline inventory management,
MRP meaning.
material requirements planning.
Hmm.
It's software that helps companies plan and manage their inventory needs.
And then there are AI-powered chatbots that can provide instant customer support.
It's incredible how technology is reshaping the operational landscape.
It's like having a digital workforce that's always on call.
Precisely. But now let's shift gears from the tactical to the strategic side of things.
Okay, so we're moving from the nuts and bolts to the big picture,
Exactly. The 10-day MBA introduces the 7S model.
which I've heard of, but I'm not sure I fully grasp.
Well, it highlights the interconnectedness of 7 key elements in an organization.
Structure, systems, skills, style, staff, shared goals, and strategy.
Exactly. And the model emphasizes that all these elements need to be aligned for an organization to achieve its goals.
So it's not enough to have a great strategy if your systems or your staff aren't up to the task.
Precisely. It's like a symphony orchestra where each instrument needs to be in tune and playing its part harmoniously.
Beautiful analogy.
Woo.
And to compose that strategic symphony, you need a deep understanding of your environment.
Right. The book guides us through analyzing macro environmental factors.
So things like economic trends, technological advancements, political and social changes.
Exactly. And then it zooms in on industry dynamics and competitive forces.
So you're saying we need a panoramic view of the business landscape before making any strategic moves.
Absolutely. It's about gathering information and making informed decisions.
Then there's a value chain, which I always found to be a really helpful concept.
It breaks down a company's activities into a series of value-creating steps.
So you can see where each step adds value and where there might be room for improvement.
Precisely. It's a great tool for identifying opportunities for cost reduction differentiation
Yeah.
or enhancing customer value.
And when it comes to growth, the 10-day MBA explores different strategic options.
Like vertical integration, where a company expands along its supply chain.
So like a coffee roaster acquiring a coffee farm.
Exactly. And then there's horizontal integration, where companies merge with their competitors.
To increase market share.
Precisely. And then there's diversification, venturing into new markets or industries.
So our coffee roaster might decide to start selling tea as well.
Exactly. And to guide those growth decisions, the 10-day MBA introduces the Ansoff matrix.
Which considers new versus existing products and markets.
Right. It helps companies map out different expansion strategies.
Like market penetration, product development, market development diversification.
Exactly. A helpful framework for thinking about growth,
And then, of course, we can't forget about Michael Porter's 5 forces.
which analyze the competitive dynamics of an industry.
So we're talking about the threat of new entrants, bargaining power of buyers and suppliers, threat of substitutes, and competitive rivalry.
Exactly. And understanding these forces can help a company position itself strategically.
Mitigating threats and seizing opportunities.
Yeah. Precisely. It's like playing a game of strategic chess.
Anticipating your opponent's moves and planning your own accordingly.
Exactly. And to win that game, you need a competitive advantage.
Something that sets you apart from the competition.
Right. The 10-day MBA breaks down different approaches.
Like cost leadership differentiation focus.
Precisely. Cost leadership means being the low-cost producer in your industry.
While differentiation is about offering unique products or services.
And focus is about specializing in a specific niche market.
And the book even explores the learning curve.
Showing how experience can translate into a cost advantage.
The more you do something, the more efficiently you can do it.
Precisely. Now, all this strategic thinking is fascinating, but at the end of the day, business is about people.
Right, those messy, complicated humans with their emotions and motivations.
Exactly. And the 10-day MBA doesn't shy away from the human side of the equation.
It dedicates a whole section to organizational behavior, exploring those fascinating dynamics that play out within companies.
Right. It emphasizes identifying performance gaps, those discrepancies between desired outcomes and actual results.
So like a sales team that's consistently missing its targets.
Exactly. And the book introduces causal chains, which help trace back those root causes of problems.
So maybe that sales team lacks proper training, which leads to low morale and ultimately those missed targets.
Precisely. It's like detective work, uncovering the clues that lead to a solution.
And once you've identified the root cause, you can start exploring different solutions.
Right. It could be something as simple as improving communication or providing more training.
Or even restructuring teams to better leverage individual strengths.
Exactly. It's about tailoring the approach to the specific situation.
Now let's talk about motivation, the driving force behind human behavior.
The 10-day MBA explores various motivation theories.
Like Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
With its pyramid of physiological safety, social esteem, and self-actualization needs.
A classic framework for understanding human motivation.
And then there's Hertzberg's two-factor theory, which distinguishes between hygiene factors that prevent dissatisfaction and motivators that boost satisfaction.
So hygiene factors are like those basic needs that need to be met to prevent unhappiness.
Like decent working conditions, fair pay job security.
And motivators are those things that actually make people feel engaged and satisfied with their work.
Like challenging work opportunities for growth recognition and achievement.
So it's not just about avoiding pain. It's about creating a workplace that actually fosters engagement, and passion.
Precisely, and the 10-day MBA connects this to job design.
Exploring how adjusting core job dimensions can enhance employee satisfaction and performance.
Right, things like skill variety, task identity tasks, significance autonomy, and feedback.
It's about crafting roles that tap into people's intrinsic motivations,
Exactly, and to empower employees, the book highlights the importance of delegation.
giving people the authority and responsibility to make decisions and take ownership of their work.
Precisely, the 10-day MBA analyzes those factors that influence delegation decisions.
So things like a manager's confidence in their subordinates, the clarity of the situation.
Exactly. Effective delegation frees up managers to focus on higher-level tasks while also fostering growth in their team members.
It's a win-win situation.
Hmm.
Now, speaking of leadership, the 10-day MBA introduces various leadership styles.
From visionary leaders who inspire with a compelling vision of the future to commanding leaders who provide clear directions and expect compliance.
And don't forget about those affiliative leaders who prioritize building relationships and fostering harmony.
Right, and then there are those democratic leaders who involve their teams in decision-making.
And those pace-setting leaders who set high standards and push their teams to excel.
And those coaching leaders who focus on developing their team members' skills and potential.
It's like a whole spectrum of leadership approaches.
And the 10-day MBA emphasizes that there's no single best leadership style.
It's about adapting your approach based on the situation, the team's needs, and the organizational context.
Right. Finding that right balance between direction and empowerment, task focus, and relationship building.
It's like having a leadership toolkit, choosing the right tool for the job.
Precisely. Now, while those relationships with your team are crucial, the book also provides guidance on managing your boss.
Ah, yes, that all-important relationship.
Right. Understanding your boss's working style, adapting your communication, and finding ways to work together effectively are essential skills.
It's about creating a mutually beneficial partnership.
Exactly. And while those relationships are important, the 10-day MBA acknowledges that sometimes crucial conversations are unavoidable.
Those difficult dialogues that can have a significant impact on careers and relationships.
Exactly. And the book provides a framework for handling those conversations effectively.
Creating a safe space for open dialogue, sharing your perspective clearly and respectfully, actively listening to the other person's viewpoint.
Right. And working collaboratively to find a resolution that benefits both parties.
Those are valuable skills for resolving conflicts, building trust, and fostering a positive work environment.
Absolutely. Now, sometimes it's not just individual interactions that need attention, but the entire organizational structure.
So how a company is organized, its hierarchy and reporting lines,
Exactly. The 10-day MBA explores different organizational structures.
like functional structures, grouping departments based on their functions,
Yeah.
like marketing or finance,
Right. And then there are product structures organizing teams around specific products or product lines,
and geographic structures dividing operations by location,
and divisional structures with independent business units operating under a parent corporation.
and matrix structures combining elements of different structures.
It's fascinating to see how organizational structure reflects a company's strategic goals and operational needs.
And underpinning those structures are systems, those processes and procedures that govern how work gets done.
Precisely. The book covers various types of systems, from planning systems that guide strategic decision-making to control systems that monitor performance.
It delves into people allocation systems, future anticipation systems, people reward systems, integrative systems.
It's about creating a system that supports the company's overall strategy and empowers its people to succeed.
But even the most well-designed systems need to adapt to change.
Absolutely, change is a constant in the business world.
And the 10-day MBA provides different approaches for managing it.
From top-down approaches where senior management drives the change initiative to bottom-up approaches involving employees at all levels,
The book outlines various tactics for implementing change effectively.
like education and communication participation and involvement facilitation and support negotiation and agreement.
And even those more directive approaches like manipulation and co-optation, or explicit and implicit coercion.
It's about finding the right balance between pushing for change and ensuring buy-in from those affected by it.
So much to consider when navigating those organizational shifts.
It's a complex process.
But the 10-day MBA doesn't shy away from the tough stuff. It acknowledges that ethical considerations are woven into every aspect of business.
Absolutely. It encourages us to think critically about the social responsibility of businesses.
going beyond just maximizing profits to consider the interests of all stakeholders.
Customers, suppliers, employees, communities, shareholders.
It's a reminder that ethical decision-making is not just the right thing to do.
It's also good for business in the long run.
It builds trust and fosters a positive reputation.
Precisely. And speaking of regulations, the 10-day MBA also provides a concise overview of key legal concepts relevant to business.
Okay, so we're talking contracts, liability, intellectual property,
All of that. It walks us through different sources of law.
from constitutional law and statutory law to common law and administrative law.
Exactly. And it breaks down those essential elements of a valid contract.
Offer acceptance, consideration, legality, capacity.
Precisely. From express contracts where the terms are explicitly stated to implied contracts where the terms are inferred from the party's conduct.
So whether you're negotiating a major deal or simply hiring a freelancer, understanding contract law is crucial.
Absolutely. The book even touches on more specialized areas like agency agreements.
Where one person acts on behalf of another.
Exactly, and it explains the duties and liabilities of both parties involved.
Then we get into secured transactions, governed by the Uniform Commercial Code, or UCC.
Specifically Article 9, which deals with secured transactions.
And the book outlines the concept of perfection, which establishes a creditor's priority over other creditors.
Right, and it explains different methods of perfection, like filing a financing statement or possessing the collateral.
It's all about protecting your interests in those financial arrangements.
Absolutely. And speaking of protecting your business, the book doesn't shy away from antitrust laws.
Which aim to promote competition and prevent monopolies.
Right. It covers key legislation like the Sherman Act, the Clayton Act, and the Robinson-Patman Act.
Highlighting those different types of anti-competitive behavior that these laws prohibit.
Price fixing, market allocation, predatory pricing.
It's a reminder that playing by the rules is essential for long-term success.
Precisely. But ethical and legal considerations are just one part of the equation. Business decisions often involve crunching numbers and making sense of data.
Ah, yes, the world of quantitative analysis.
Exactly. The 10-day MBA introduces us to various tools and techniques for making data-driven decisions.
So we're talking about things like statistical analysis, forecasting, modeling.
Precisely. And it demystifies complex concepts like decision trees.
Which I've always found a little intimidating.
Well, they're basically a tool for tackling complex problems by breaking them down into a series of decisions and possible outcomes.
So you can visualize different paths and their potential consequences.
Exactly. The book uses a simple oil drilling example to illustrate how to use decision trees.
Assigning probabilities and values to each outcome, calculating the expected monetary value, or EMV, of each decision path.
Right, and choosing the path with the highest EMV.
It's a systematic way to weigh risks and rewards, making informed choices, even in uncertain situations.
Precisely. Then the book dives into cash flow analysis.
Which is a fundamental concept in finance and business valuation.
Right, it reminds us of the time value of money.
The idea that $1 today is worth more than $1 tomorrow, because it can be invested and earn a return.
Precisely. And it introduces net present value, or NPV.
Which I remember from our finance discussion.
Right. It's a way to calculate the present value of future cash flows.
By discounting them back to their present value using a chosen discount rate.
Exactly. NPV is a powerful tool for evaluating investments and projects.
Comparing different options and choosing the one that generates the highest value over time.
Precisely. And speaking of calculations, the 10-day MBA even dips its toes into probability theory.
The study of random events and their likelihood of occurrence.
Exactly. It introduces different probability distributions.
Like the binomial distribution and the normal distribution.
Right. The binomial distribution describes the probability of a certain number of successes in a fixed number of trials.
And the normal distribution is that famous bell curve.
Precisely. The book explains the concept of standard deviation.
Which measures how spread out data is around the mean.
Right, and it can be used to quantify risk and uncertainty.
And then there's the cumulative distribution function, or CDF.
Which gives the probability of a random variable being less than or equal to a certain value.
Okay, so it's like having a statistical toolkit for understanding and quantifying those unpredictable elements that inevitably pop up in business.
Exactly. And speaking of tools, the 10-day MBA introduces regression analysis.
Which is a statistical technique for modeling the relationship between variables.
Right. The book uses a simple example of ice cream sales and temperature to illustrate how to use regression analysis.
To forecast sales based on temperature.
Precisely. It explains the concepts of independent and dependent variables, the coefficient of determination, and the t-statistic.
It's amazing how these statistical tools can be applied to real-world business problems.
Absolutely. But even with all these quantitative techniques at our disposal, the 10-day MBA reminds us that business is ultimately about more than just numbers.
Right. It's about people, relationships, and creating value for the world.
Exactly. The book encourages us to think beyond the bottom line.
And consider the ethical and social impact of our decisions.
Precisely. It's a reminder that business can be a force for good, driving innovation, creating jobs, and making a positive contribution to society.
And it emphasizes that personal development and leadership are essential for success in any field.
Absolutely. It challenges us to manage our fears, seek guidance from mentors and coaches, and continuously invest in our own growth.
It's about becoming the best versions of ourselves, both professionally and personally.
Exactly. And speaking of self-improvement, the 10-day MBA provides valuable resources and tools to enhance our learning journey,
It features a comprehensive glossary of terms,
providing clear definitions for all those business buzzwords.
and it includes a list of recommended resources, books, articles, websites.
For those who want to delve deeper into specific topics,
It even provides a 10-day MBA movie guide.
a curated list of films that offer entertaining and insightful perspectives on various business themes.
It's like turning your movie night into a business lesson.
Exactly. But what really stands out about the 10-day MBA is that it goes beyond just teaching the mechanics of business.
Right. It instills a mindset, a way of thinking strategically, analytically, and creatively,
It encourages us to be problem solvers, innovators, and leaders.
regardless of our chosen field or career path.
Exactly. It's about embracing a growth mindset, being open to new ideas, and continuously learning and
In
adapting.
this ever-evolving business world.
Precisely. Now, all this knowledge is fantastic, but it's only truly valuable when put into practice.
Right. It's not enough to just read about business. We need to actually apply these concepts to our own endeavors.
Exactly. Whether we're starting a business, leading a team, or simply making more informed decisions in our daily lives.
It's about turning those aha moments into concrete results.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this deep dive into the 10-day MBA,
Let's reflect on those key takeaways that can help us navigate the complexities of business and achieve our goals.
we'll distill all this knowledge into 10 essential points.
Ready to create your own personalized MBA cheat sheet?
Let's do it. Point number 1, understanding your target audience is paramount.
Conduct thorough consumer analysis to identify their needs, desires, and purchase behavior.
Point number 2, embrace the power of market analysis. Study the product life cycle, analyze market trends, and assess those competitive forces that shape your industry.
Point number 3, craft a strategic marketing mix, utilizing a combination of promotional tools to reach your target audience effectively and drive sales.
Point number 4, master the fundamentals of finance. Understand different business structures, assess and manage risk effectively, and explore valuation methods to make informed investment decisions.
Point number 5, optimize your operations for efficiency and productivity. Explore different production systems, implement scheduling and inventory control techniques, and prioritize quality management to deliver exceptional products and services.
Point number 6, develop a clear and compelling business strategy. Define your mission and vision, analyze your external environment, and choose growth strategies that align with your goals.
Point number 7, understand and leverage Porter's 5 forces. Analyze the competitive dynamics of your industry to identify opportunities, mitigate threats, and position yourself strategically.
Point number 8, strive for a sustainable competitive advantage. Whether through cost leadership differentiation or focus, establish a unique position in the market that sets you apart from the competition.
Point number 9, embrace the power of automation. Leverage technology to streamline processes, improve efficiency, and enhance customer interactions.
And finally, point number 10, never stop learning and adapting. The business world is constantly evolving, so stay curious, seek knowledge, embrace change, and always be on the lookout for those aha moments that can spark innovation and drive success.
Those are 10 powerful takeaways packed with wisdom from the 10-day MBA.
Use them as guiding principles to make informed decisions and achieve your business goals.
But our journey isn't over yet.
We still have one last area to explore: real estate, a fascinating and often lucrative aspect of business that can provide opportunities for both personal and professional growth.
Stay tuned as we uncover those real estate insights from the 10-day MBA and wrap up this incredible deep dive into the world of business. Okay, so we've tackled marketing, finance, operations, strategy, even organizational behavior.
Now let's step into a world that's well, it's always held a certain allure.
Real estate. I mean, who hasn't dreamed of owning a piece of property?
Exactly. And even if you're not looking to become a real estate tycoon, the 10-day MBA offers insights that can benefit anyone.
So is it all about location, location, location?
Well, that's definitely a key factor. But the book goes beyond those catchy slogans and dives into the financial realities of real estate.
So crunching the numbers is crucial.
Absolutely. It presents a clear cash flow analysis to reveal the economics of owning and renting out property.
Okay, so it's not just about finding a property you love, it's about making sure the numbers work.
Precisely. And the book highlights the power of leverage, using borrowed money to potentially amplify returns.
Leverage. That's where things can get a little risky, right?
It's a double-edged sword. It can magnify gains, but also losses. So understanding the dynamics is essential.
The book also points out those tempting tax advantages associated with real estate.
Right, things like depreciation deductions and the ability to defer capital gains taxes through 1031 exchanges.
Those can make a big difference in your overall return.
Absolutely. But beyond the financials, the 10-day MBA emphasizes the importance of thorough due diligence.
So not just jumping into a deal blindly.
Exactly. Researching a property, carefully inspecting it, understanding the local market dynamics, all these steps can mitigate risk and increase your chances of success.
It's like being a detective, but for buildings.
I like that.
Yeah.
Now, all this talk of finance and strategy is great, but the 10-day MBA acknowledges that business isn't just about spreadsheets and boardrooms.
Right? It's ultimately driven by people, and people are complicated.
Absolutely. And the book dedicates a whole section to personal development, recognizing that success often hinges on self-awareness and continuous growth.
So it's not just about mastering those external factors, but also those internal ones.
Exactly. And it dives right into managing fear, that universal human experience that can hold us back.
I think we've all been there. Fear of failure, the unknown rejection, even success.
Right. It can paralyze us. The book encourages us to confront those fears head on, using strategies like positive self-talk and taking action despite our anxieties.
Easier said than done sometimes.
It can be, but the book reminds us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the willingness to act despite it.
Powerful stuff.
Yeah,
And sometimes we need a little guidance on that journey of personal growth.
absolutely. And the 10-day MBA highlights the role of leadership coaches.
So someone who can provide support and accountability, help us clarify goals, identify blind spots.
Exactly. And it provides tips for choosing the right coach and making the most of that relationship.
Because finding the right mentor can make all the difference.
It can. It's an investment in our own development, both professionally and personally.
Speaking of personal development, let's not forget about personal finance.
That crucial aspect of overall well-being that often gets neglected.
The 10-day MBA offers practical advice for managing money wisely, starting with the simple yet powerful concept of paying yourself first.
Right. Setting aside a portion of your income for savings and investments before tackling those bills and expenses.
It's like making your future self a priority.
Exactly. And the book recommends maximizing tax-deferred savings opportunities like 401ks or 403bs.
Especially if your employer offers matching contributions.
It's free money.
Can't argue with that.
Nope.
The book also stresses the importance of an emergency fund,
That financial cushion to handle those unexpected life events without derailing your progress.
like a sudden job loss or a medical emergency.
Precisely. And it encourages diversification, spreading those investments across different asset classes to manage risk and potentially enhance returns.
So not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And while building wealth is important, the book also reminds us that reducing debt is crucial.
So those credit card balances, student loans, car payments.
It encourages making informed decisions about major purchases, carefully weighing needs versus wants.
Right, because sometimes we get caught up in those impulse buys.
It happens. And it's about aligning your spending with your values and goals, creating a life that's both fulfilling and financially secure.
Now, what I really appreciate about the 10-day MBA is that it doesn't just end with the last page.
Right. It provides a whole array of resources to continue learning and exploring.
Like a comprehensive glossary of terms, a list of recommended resources.
Books, articles, websites, all curated to deepen your understanding.
And for those who prefer a more visual learning experience, there's even a 10-day MBA movie guide.
A collection of films that illustrate business concepts in entertaining and thought-provoking ways.
It's like turning movie night into a business lesson.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this incredible deep dive into the 10-day MBA,
Let's take a moment to reflect on what we've learned.
we've explored marketing, finance operations, strategy, organizational behavior.
Quantitative analysis, ethics law, real estate, personal development, even personal finance.
It's been an amazing journey through the multifaceted world of business.
We've gained valuable insights, practical tools, and a framework for thinking strategically, analytically, and creatively.
But remember, This is just the beginning.
The real learning comes from applying these concepts to your own unique situation, your own business endeavors, your own life.
So go forth armed with this newfound knowledge.
Embrace a growth mindset. Stay curious, be bold, and never stop learning.
The world of business is constantly evolving, presenting new challenges and opportunities.
Embrace those challenges, seize those opportunities, and make your mark on the world.
Thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive into the 10-day MBA.
May your journey be filled with success, fulfillment, and those aha moments that light the path ahead.
Until next time, keep seeking knowledge, keep exploring, and keep diving deep.